Can I change the terms of my marriage so that I can marry a second wife? The short answer: you cannot marry a second wife under customary law if you are already married to the first under civil law. The whole question: how much would it cost to change my marriage to out of community of property and to a customary marriage so that I can marry a second wife? The long answer: there are two separate issues here. Changing your marriage regime from in community of property to out of community of property. 2. Whether you can change your marriage from civil to customary in order to marry a second wife. Changing your marriage regime from in community of property to out of community of property. You and your wife would both have to apply to the High Court for permission to sign a notarial contract, which means a postnuptial contract that sets out your new marriage property system. This is in terms of Section 21(1) of the Matrimonial Property Act. If the court grants permission, the notarial contract is registered at the deeds office. Once it is registered, it becomes your new marriage property system. The court must be satisfied that sound reasons for the proposed change exist. Sufficient notice of the proposed change must be given to all creditors as well as the registrar of deeds. No other person will be prejudiced by the change in the matrimonial property system. You would need the following documents for the court application: certified copies of identity documents or passports for both you and your wife, certified copy of the marriage certificate, the reason why you didn't register an antenuptial contract before you got married, the reasons that you want to have a postnuptial contract now, the copies of proof of address for both you and your wife, the full details of assets that both of you currently own, full details of all existing creditors, together with supporting documentation such as most recent statements, etc. Because this is an application to the High Court, you would need to be represented by a lawyer. You would also need to give notice to the registrar of deeds, and you would have to publish notices of your application in 2 local newspapers and the Government Gazette at least 14 days before the court application is heard, so that anyone who might be affected, like creditors, could come forward. You would also have to send your known creditors notice by registered mail. The whole process could take up to 3 months and would cost a lot of money. Depending on how complicated it was, it could cost between R$15,000 and R$30,000 in legal fees. 2. Whether you can change your marriage from civil to customary in order to marry a second wife. We already know that you cannot marry a second wife under customary law if you are already married to the first under civil law. And although we know that you can first marry under customary law and then go on to marry the same partner under civil law, you cannot change your marriage regime from civil to customary.